As chairperson of the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission on Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 at 4 p.m., I want to call this meeting to order. The meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, please make their presence known. Besides our own cable company. Okay, roll call, please.
Chairman Flores?
Here.
Vice Chairman Gio?
Here.
Clerk Weil?
Here.
Commissioner Beerworth?
Here.
Commissioner Bailey?
Here.
Commissioner DeGeorge?
Here.
Yarmouth Rep. Christine Greeley?
Here.
We have a full quorum this evening.
Terrific. I'd ask everybody to stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Mark, would you lead us in that pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of previous meetings. The first meeting was July 1st, 2024. I assume that everyone has had the opportunity to read the minutes. Are there any additions, deletions, edits? Not hearing any. I would accept a motion to approve these.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor of approving the July 1st, 2024 minutes as written, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. July 16th, 2024.
So moved. Seconded.
Okay, any additions, deletions, comments, edits? Okay, not hearing any, we'll take a vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Is there anyone here in the audience who wishes to make a public comment? Okay, not seeing anybody, we'll move on to Commissioner's response to public comment, which is void. And we'll go right into report from subcommittees, the first one being Finance. Commissioner Weil, as chairperson of that subcommittee, would you?
We did not meet this month.
Okay. Moving to the Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee, Commissioner DeGeorge.
We do not meet this month.
Okay. And that brings us right into old business. This is COM 0724-4, and I will make that motion to begin that presentation. I'll need a second.
Second.
Okay. This is...
Point of order.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, are we making a motion to approve the contract?
No, we're just making a
Okay.
motion to have a presentation.
The contract is also in there as well.
Yeah, but we're not making a motion on that right now. I just want to make sure the record is clear on that.
Yeah. I want to hear the presentation first.
Yeah. This
Gotcha.
is, yeah.
So,
Okay. Just real brief, so prior to the option renewal discussion, Pierce Cote staff has provided us with a year-end review presentation of their marketing and communications efforts for the airport. I've asked them to put together a presentation before I get into the option renewal discussion. Chairman Flores has asked that it be brief. I will have Brad, you start and introduce your staff, and then we can get into the presentation really quickly.
okay, Kate, we should want to go up there. Brief in terms of as opposed to 30 minutes, 10, 15, is it all the target points?
Yes, we had planned to have about a 4.5-hour presentation today, but Mr. Flores told me 10 minutes right up front, so that's where we're going to keep it to.
Keep talking.
Want to be able to introduce myself. I'm Brad Schiff, I'm president of Pierce Cote. Let everybody introduce themselves.
Yep. Beth Bullock-McGrail, I'm the head of the account service function as well as marketing and advertising.
Hi, and I'm Jeff Splain. I lead the public relations function on the team.
David Jensen, I oversee technology, integration, website maintenance.
I'm Marcy Tilsley, and I'm part of the social media team.
And Lisa.
Lisa Smith, VP Advertising Marketing.
Okay.
Can I ask for a point of order? Is this presentation just an overview of Pierce Cote?
This is introducing who we are, an overview, but most of it is the work that we've done over the last year for the Cape Cod Gateway
Okay, yeah,
Airport.
because that's what we're interested in. We know who you are and we know what your background is.
I understand, but this is also, the presentation was given to everybody?
Yep, so they
yesterday?
have it, if
Yeah.
we need to go into
All right,
it.
so we're gonna be very brief, Mr. Flores. Okay, let's start us off. So anyways, we're a full-service marketing communication firm based in Austable. Well, actually, the largest full-service marketing communication firm south of Boston is certainly in the Cape. We're part of Regan Communications, which is a firm that's got, we're a division of it. It's got offices all up and down the East Coast from Boston, New York to Florida. Reagan Communications has clients such as Bank of America, New Balance, and the world champion Boston Celtics. We have got, all of Reagan Communications has a history of providing integrated marketing services for-profit, nonprofit, and municipalities as well. Okay, Lisa. So, in terms of our services, we are full service, so that's everything from public relations and crisis communications to advertising to digital. Is everything in marketing communications we do. There's nothing that we don't do. Next page, some of the clients that we have, and this is just a partial list. This is the list of the ones we have, mostly that we have on Cape Cod. We've been the agency for the Steamship Authority for 25 years, for Cape Cod Healthcare for 12 years, for the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod for 10 years. And also, we are involved with Marketplace Logan Airport. We do all the creative over the last several years for all the restaurants and retail that they have there. So our approach, we are, I like to call ourselves a trusted business partner, because that's what we are to all of our clients. And we are truly 24/7. All of us have very deep experience in either on the client side, and the media side, or agency side. And we also have several people who work on the account who aren't here today. If you add everybody's experience up here, all together, it's over 250 years of experience in terms of marketing, media, and in terms of agency. So again, what we have been working on is enhancing the image and the branding of the airport, and I understand you're going to be working on a new strategic plan, and certainly we'll be aligning, as you go through that, aligning our strategies and tactics for that as well. There's three areas that we want to focus on today that we've been working on over the past year with the Gateway Airport: improving transportation options on Cape Cod, expanding the community outreach on key business issues, and strengthening community partnerships. So we're going to very briefly go through each of these three sections and then talk about what we do for the website as well. Yeah?
Yeah, I think it might be easier just to keep us seated, because we're going to be going back and forth and popping up.
That's fine.
Okay. So first, Brad mentioned improving transportation options. So this was important for us because we wanted the public to recognize this airport as a preferable option and a strong option for travel. So either through direct flights or connecting flights, this is what this is really all about. Specifically, we support this all year, but most definitely through the seasonal time periods where all three airlines are flying. So some of the things that we did to support that are here. Summer digital campaign, which you've probably seen, our digital ads using the approach of, again, challenging people's thinking, making sure they think about flying out of HYA as opposed to going to Providence or Boston. And we did that by taking that message and sending it through many channels. We did it digital, but we also carried it through social. We carried it through the e-newsletter. We did a strong push on the American Airlines launch. We also continue to support JetBlue and Cape Air, which Cape Air will be a year-long opportunity for us. Next. I mentioned the channels, so I'll just show them here to you. I think the key is that we don't want to just push this message through one. We need an integrated approach, so this is basically what that shows. Again, I won't kind of take you through these, but these are, over the next few slides, you'll just see examples of the creative that we use to support it. So that is a digital campaign on the left, this is chamber ads on the right. This is examples of social media coverage that we use to, again, send through those messages. And also the e-newsletter, which launched launched last September was used very strategically to send those messages as well.
Excuse me, on the social media side, you keep track of how many visitors you get, how many are,
Yes,
when they come back,
we're gonna be
actually
doing a
post
whole
something?
quantitative report in the next meeting on that. Oops, oh, you are.
Great. From a public relations perspective, our primary objective is to increase the visibility and awareness of the airport and the travel options it provides, as well as the convenience it provides to the several hundred thousand residents of southeastern Mass and Cape Cod. We tell the story, and it's a good one that's getting better and better, through consistent media relations, and that includes local, regional, and national media, as well as a consistent flow of news announcements out of the airport. And as you can see from some of the slides here, we've got phenomenal coverage this summer for the new service by American Airlines, and we continue to play off that momentum week by week. And I gotta tell you, it's been a snowball effect, where any journalist in the region that's writing about aviation, travel, airports is saying, wow, I need to call the folks at Cape Cod Gateway Airport as well. So we're really getting our share of voice increased with the increased public relations campaign. Okay, yeah, more coverage, right? And thanks to Katie for all the interviews.
Yeah, thanks. Number 2 is expanding community outreach, and what this is really about, whereas the first kind of leg of this was really about getting messages out to consumers, flying public, this is really about establishing the airport as a great business citizen of the town of Barnstable. So it's a really, I remember Katie in our kickoff meeting telling us, I really want to be transparent. I really want to make sure that messages get out to the community and to those stakeholders who need to hear what the Cape Cod Gateway Airport story is. And that's what this is. So this is heavily dominated by the public relations team. However, there are a lot of things we've done as well. So it's maintaining those lines of communication with the folks that you see there, and if you go to the next, through the various components that you see here. So it's e-newsletter content, it's social media, it's print media pitches, it's radio interviews, it goes on and on. So it's really about looking for any available channel to reach those who need to know this story. This is a couple of examples of things that I've worked on, and then on the right is actually more of Jeff's area. This is an advertorial and an ad that went in Aviation Digest, we worked with Katie on, and then that is a photo of Katie, obviously, at just one of her many community chats. Social media wise, just like before, you'll see that the topics that we bring up and kind of surface have to find their way through this various channels that I just mentioned. So this is just showing the redundancy of that. And then again, in the e-newsletters, making sure that we continue to pull that content in that tells those stories about those important business issues.
Great. As far as expanding community outreach, our program goes way above and beyond, from a public relations perspective, flight schedules or new tenants at the airport. As somebody who covered the airport for 5 years at the Times, realize this is a very important and vital asset, not only to Barnstable, but to Cape Cod in general. So what we do as part of our community outreach program is we make sure that accurate information is being communicated about the airport. Again, as somebody who's covered this, there's a fair amount of misinformation that can be spread out there about the airport. We want to make sure that everything is correct and the record is straight, and that articles are being reported on factual information. We also notify and encourage stakeholders to participate in public hearings and meetings that the airport puts on. That includes PFAS mitigation and airport improvement meetings. Also make sure that we keep our local and state and federal delegation up to date on what's happening at the airport. Obviously, they're very important as far as letting them know what's going on, and as far as money that may come from Washington. Scheduling speaking opportunities for Katie and other airport leaders, and also making sure that we are ready and able to respond to any type of crisis communication, let the community know should anything happen here at the airport, which let's hope it never does.
Awesome, so our third thing here is strengthening community partnerships, which is super, super important, especially being such a huge part of Cape Cod. We partnered with the Boy Scouts, Electric Automation, the Island Cafe. We really wanted to get the word out about events such as, Great Day at the Gateway and Flight on a
Festivities with a bright line.
Excuse me, yeah. So we really wanted to get the word out about that, and it was super important to get people into the airport so that they could come here physically, see the changes, learn more about aviation, or learn more about the changes that are happening at the airport, and just get really excited about the fact that now they have more options when it comes to flying in and out of the Cape. So the channels that we used here were social media, e-newsletter. We did media pitches. I know we wrote some scripts for Katie as well. We did signage, we did ads. So we really wanted to generate that interest and excitement around the airport and get people to come in and see everything that there's exciting to be about. So again, a great day at the Gateway. We did a lemonade fundraiser, the aviation career fair, announcing the Island Cafe opening, which if you haven't had that hot dog in there, you need to get that Caribbean hot dog because my son told me it's the best hot dog he's ever had in his life. Social media again, and you can see how we just covered, again, integrated messaging throughout. And then in the e-newsletters as well. And actually a fun fact that I have for you all is that my mother flew in on the second American Airlines flight in June that came into this airport. And my mother is handicapped, and she said, I'm coming to Hyannis, so you don't have to come get me in Boston. And I was like, Mom, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that? And she's like, yes, I'm sure. I'm going to take American. And I was like, okay. And I just have to say, well, I missed the opening ceremonies by one day. That was before I started this company. But they took such great care of my mother, wheeling her in and out and making sure that she's okay, taking her out to meet me. So I just wanted to say that I had a personal experience with the start of American at this airport, and I was blown away at how great they were with her. All right, so we talked about the e-newsletters and then PR.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Yes, once again, the airport is such a wonderful community resource, and it's so available to nonprofit organizations and those who want to have events here. We need to tell the story, and that's what we do with the media on a regular basis. Whether it be the Cape Cod Young Professionals or the Boy Scouts coming here for their sleepover, which was one of the best stories I thought I ever did 5 years ago. I remember going up to the tower with them. It really does add to the goodwill of the airport within the community. And those stories need to be told, and hopefully when people read about this or hear it on radio or maybe see it on TV, they'll say, geez, I should reach out to the airport as well and try to have an event there too. Also wanted to add that whenever we see an interesting human interest story or personality profile, whether it be someone who works at the airport, a member of airport management, for instance, as Katie was on Channel 5, we try to promote that as well. And of course, talking about the extensive and rich history of the airport whenever possible. People love the George Bush story.
So lastly, the website is the core nucleus of a lot of the marketing components. Our job is twofold. One is to manage content, improve the user experience. All of those things go to support those pillars. Make sure information is easy to find. People can access the website from all the different devices. But it's also to allow the website to be found in the world when you do a Google search and those type of things. That's called search engine optimization, and that's part of what our team does, and that has a technical aspect, making sure that the site is secure, making sure that it has the appropriate metadata, and that it has a content side of things, and that's making sure that content is posted and easy to navigate. And so those are some of the things that we've done over the last year. If you could switch, please. We share with you some metrics, but as you asked, we will be putting together a report that has full end-to-end metrics on social media, newsletters, website traffic, organic content, those type of things. But we've seen pretty good growth. We've seen an increase in the number of sessions. We've seen an increase in the number of new users. People are finding the website by a wider array of keywords when they do a Google search, and they're spending more time on the site while they're there. So. And then we've made some enhancements, improving the user experience, look, feel, navigation, those type of things. And then As I said, we'll be pulling together a report for the October Commission report that'll have analytics. We run Google Analytics on the site. We pull in data into a dashboard that you all can have 24/7 access to that tells you demographic information, how the social content is, how people are engaging with the social content, what they like, as well as the overall performance of the site.
So that is just a little bit about who we are, what we've done with Katie and Matt over the last year, and we certainly look forward to a great second year with Cape Cod Gateway Airport.
Okay, I would ask if anyone on the commission has any questions or issues that they might want to ask through the chair, please. I'll recognize you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dearwood.
I was wondering if it'd be possible to get the report in time for our next infrastructure and marketing meeting. We discussed a number of ideas that it would be great if we could run them by you and get some feedback before it goes to the full commission. Is that-
When is the next meeting?
It's the first week of September, so we'll have to look at that and see if that aligns with it.
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman,
Bailey.
question. I have no problem with the work that you've done. I just have a question about the billing and the proposed billing. And as I mentioned at our last meeting, I have to bill on a 1/10 of an hour basis. I notice your new billing or suggested form of billing is half-hour basis. I wish I could get away with that. I can't, and I have concerns when somebody else does the same thing. So can you tell us you're going to bill us on 1/10 of an hour basis instead of a half-hour basis for anything that you do?
Well, we have billed all of our clients for, at Reagan Communications, which is now celebrating its 40th year, we do it based on a half-hour basis. We've never been requested before to do it on anything less than that. I would have to take a look at that to see how practical that is, but that's how we've billed all our clients, and since I've been here in 10 years, no one has ever requested to have it broken down any further than that.
So is that a yes or no or maybe?
It would be a maybe. I'll take a look at it, sir.
But even
Commissioner
a half-hour basis is an improvement. And, you know, I appreciate the presentation that you made, but quite frankly, we're pretty much aware of what you do. What we've asked for repeatedly now and still have not seen is an accounting of why you spent so many hours over your estimate on your first year of your contract and are now asking for a 50% increase in the amount of your contract. That's for that information twice, a breakdown of that kind of breakdown on the work you've done in the past year to help us understand why you said you were going to spend this many hours a month and you end up spending 50% more. And part of my frustration is originally came to us with a $30,000 increase because we didn't include strategic planning in our pricing. Well, we said no to that. So now you come back and you say, well, we want $30,000 because we spent more hours than what we planned on. So there's a huge question in my mind, and I'm not prepared to go forward with any approval until I see the breakdown. That's not it. That's not it. That doesn't tell me anything.
That's just a summary, I was just
Right.
providing, yeah.
We've seen this before. You've given us this before. Twice we have asked for a detailed breakdown, and instead we get all this. And I don't understand what the issue is.
Well, let me just first address, in terms of when we make an estimate for any client, we make an estimate on how many hours it's going to be. It doesn't mean that's going to be exactly what it is. Most of the time it is. In this case, it was way over.
Yeah.
We had, and we tracked the amount of hours. The amount of work that we were requested to do was significantly more than what we thought it was going to be.
But why wouldn't you go, if you're being requested to do more work, why wouldn't you go back and say, well, we don't, that would take more hours than
We did.
we have allotted?
We did.
Well, then why wasn't that brought to us?
They coming back to us for the option renewal, and the fact that we collected information over the past year of how many hours they spent for the airport, we did not pay them for those extra
No,
hours.
I understand that, Katie. I don't mean to interrupt, but my question is this. If you ask them to do something that's going to take, in a particular month, you ask them to do something that's going to take more than the hours allotted in that month, and they come back to you and they say, Well, that's more than what we have planned. If they've done that, then why wouldn't you come to us and say it's taking more hours? I don't mean after a year is over, I mean as it's happening, if this is what's going on, number one. Number two, I'm sorry, how long did you say you were in business?
For Pierce Cote has
Yeah.
been in business since 1987.
Since 1987, and you blew the estimate on this work by 50%?
Again, sir, all I can tell you is we brought it to Katie's attention that we tracked how many hours we do. We're required to do it for every single one of our clients. That's what we did. The work was significantly over what we thought it would take. That's what it was. We are required to put down through our company exactly how many hours. We're very precise in that, and that's how much time it took.
Any other questions? Any other comments? So, this is item COMO724-4. We've had comments from 2 commissioners. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract amendment number 1 for the second-year option term, number 1, to the on-call contract bind between Cape Cod Gateway Airport and Pierce Cote effective July 16th, 2024, not to exceed the annual amount of $90,000. The sponsor is the Finance Subcommittee and it may be acted upon at this meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and a second. What about discussion? Any further questions, comments, concerns that anyone might have? I would ask, the Finance Committee reviewed this at some point in the past and moved it forward to the full board. Okay. Does anyone want to move this question?
I think it's been moved. It's been moved and seconded, right?
Okay, so I guess we can take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, that is a 4-2 vote. It doesn't pass, and I think it means that we're not satisfied in terms of the work that you're doing, but we need more rationalization in terms of pricing and what the costs are going to be as we move forward. That's really what the issue is. I can tell that some of the commissioners have not felt that the answers have been forthcoming in terms of what we've asked for in the past. So that being said, we'll move on to new business and expect obviously you to work closely with Katie to make sure that questions specifically that were asked today, we can come back and put this on the agenda for the September meeting. Before we move forward, Mark, is there a specific question that they can ask, that you can ask, that they can respond to so that we can move this forward down the road?
It's the same thing that we've asked for twice before.
And that is?
That is that you're basing this 50% increase in the cost of your contract because of all these extra hours that you spent in the first year. And we have asked for a detailed breakdown of those extra hours in that first year, month by month. Those extra hours, where did they go to? Just like the breakdown you're proposing now, which really should have been all the way along, that's what I want to see for last year, month by month. That'll help me, and the reason why is that, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, it'll help us understand where the overage was and why it was so far off.
Okay, so is that clear in terms of what we expect? And then secondly, we would ask you also, as Commissioner Bailey suggested, if you can bill on a tenth of an hour versus a half hour, take that into consideration.
We can do that.
Discuss that. You can.
I mean, we can,
That's a given.
Just
Okay.
make an adjustment, we can certainly.
Okay, great. All right, then it's the question of really validating in terms of what goes above and beyond what's approved. What have you done to earn that money? And that's really what it comes down to. So let us know, and we'll see you back in September, I'm sure. This will go before the Finance Subcommittee during the month of September, or October if you're not ready to prepare by September, and we'll keep it moving forward. Okay. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for giving us the abridged version. Greatly appreciated. Okay, moving on to new business. This is a report from The project management intern, this is COM 0824-1. This is lessons learned from our intern who spent, well, she's gonna tell us what she did.
Good.
You could tell us for the sake of our watching, our video audience, who you are and what school and.
My name is Sadine Dwyer. I'm 19. I attend Smith College. I'm going in my sophomore year this coming fall. And this summer I was the project assistant / compliance intern with Chris Bosick over here. And this is my end of summer report. My last day is technically on Friday, so I just did it to August 23rd. Started May 21st, August 23rd. So week 1 and 2 was all about airport functionality. I learned about, I was very new to how airports work, so it was just question-based, learning a lot. I learned about how runways and taxiways worked, the different parts of the airport, ops, maintenance, control, admin, etc. Being escorted on the runway and how that works exactly. The introduction of project management and compliance at the airport and the roles that these two jobs take on. The adjustment of the parking spots on the apron, which is this design over here, which I helped with. Yes. My takeaways from these 2 weeks, always asking questions, diving into the heart of an airport and how much needs to be done for it to function properly. Actively engaging in conversations and being able to brainstorm for the most effective outcome. Week 3, I learned about communication and ego. I learned that ego and personality is just something that you get from just whoever you work with. What matters is how you take on that person and the situation to make the outcome more efficient, so you can see the best results. For this, you have to focus on humility, effective communication, and problem solving rather than personal agendas. Working with people who want different things, I learned the importance of clearly articulating what I needed from a situation and showing understanding and concern for other positions and feelings while implementing change. For example, requiring employees to wear reflective vests when outside on the runway, taxiways, etc. The importance of being explicit, clearly stating your intentions, concerns, or questions without ambiguity. And I learned the limitations of emails and how things can be misconstrued. Week 4 and 5, trusting, verifying, and empowerment. These weeks highlight the critical need to trust but verify information and action daily. Example, there was a mowing issue on when we were inspecting the cables on the grass. A piece of cable was found on the runway, which can cause a hazard. Another example is taxiway echo incident. The measurements of taxiway echo was incorrect, so trusting and verifying was done. That could have been spotted faster and gotten, or if we were out there with the paint crew, we could have caught them and helped them adjust it. Night work, incomplete tasks, and tiles was found on taxiway Delta, which is also another hazard. Encouraging accountability and continuous learning from mistakes. Adapting methods based on current challenges rather than historical reactions. And just to highlight night work, which was interesting, learning different stressors and obstacles, such as reduced availability impacting effectiveness, which is probably why the tile was left on taxiway Delta, and insights gained from observing night work operations compared to daytime. Week 6, this was when I was in charge. It was a bit nerve-wracking giving briefings, telling everyone the plan for the day and what had already been done. I appreciated everyone's reactions. They took me seriously, which I wasn't expecting, but I appreciate it. I briefed the paint crew and thought everything would go well because this was a separate paint crew from the first ones that came, but they arrived on time, unlike the first one, so I thought everything was going to go great. But still some challenges faced because weather issues, that was unpredicted. They couldn't work because of the high winds, which would have blown the reflected beads outside the paint, so it would have messed up Taxiway Bravo. Painting contract was coming to an end because they came on a Thursday and they couldn't finish that work, so they had to move it to Friday, and we were running out of time because it ended on Saturday. Yeah. They ended up coming back the next day, Friday, to finish Taxiway Echo and Bravo. Week 7, implementing new systems. I redid the organization system of all the project plans that consisted of old files and drawings that were over 30 to 80 years old in the project office. Upward 7,000 individual documents were recorded. Oh, that's a typo. Challenges faced, understanding existing processes, initial hurdles in grasping current workflows and systems, because everything was kind of just thrown into the drawers and there was no real organization system there. So I had to take everything out, like type everything on an Excel and organize it based on like as-built, airport layouts, as advertised, etc. Pilot testing, implementing small-scale trials to see feasibility and gather feedback. Takeaways, gain the ability to plan better, evaluation, communication, and adaptability, working closely with team members and supervisors to gather insights and refined ideas. Week 8, maintenance and operations building upkeep. This was when ASG and others came to inspect the drainage and lintels of the ops and maintenance building. This is when I learned more about the different parts of the airport and watching them scan the building so they could get measurements to correctly install the drains. It was very interesting because I'd never seen that kind of 3D model thing before. It was really, really interesting. Week 9 to 12, this was the period of the HYA project tracker. So Chris and I, we created a new and effective system for the airport, the HYA project tracker, which tracks grant documents, project invoices, project finance, etc. Same lessons learned with my other project, organizing the project files. My takeaways, my Excel skills and organization skills have also improved. The constant bouncing ideas from each other and teamwork is still prevalent. Asking others what they would like to see in the project and the system was also nice because we were able to include others' needs and wants, and understanding the importance of adjusting priorities. Week 13, this was the HVAC tower contract and pre-bid meeting. This week really taught me the necessity of meetings to help bidders understand the project requirements and expectations, reduce the likelihood of misunderstanding for the project due to communications and transparency, ensures a level playing field, promoting fairness in the bidding process. My takeaways, the timelines of a project is much more longer and detailed than it truly seems, because usually when I think of a construction project or like update maintenance, I usually just think of the building part, not really you need contractors, you need all these other things, you need workers. So it just really opened my eyes, brought clarity to and legal obligations on the required formats of contracts and other documents, the importance of answers to specific questions and concerns raised by potential bidders, just like the importance of transparency. And highlight of my internship, I was tasked by Chris and Matt to watch a list of aviation movies, and these are the ones I got through. Well, actually, these are all the ones they gave me, so I got through all of them. The Aviator, I learned about H-4 Hercules, Tuskegee Airmen. I learned about, it's based on the first African-American Air Force Squadron in the U.S. Sully was very inspiring. I really liked that movie. The Right Stuff, learned about Chuck Yeager, John Glenn, Gus Grimson, Al Shepard, and Gordon Cooper. Top Gun Maverick, that's actually done. I finished that one. But it was good. It was really good. I liked it. I really liked Rooster. Pearl Harbor, I enjoyed the bromance. Flight, it was good, I guess. Flight wasn't really one of my favorite, but it was good. Disney Planes was really cute. Enjoyed that. And then, last but definitely not least, this one's for Chris. Top Gun. Oh my god, Top Gun. But there you go.
He's crowned.
Yeah, he is. And that's it. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and the constant learning. It was a really great experience.
Well, thank you so much. I remember meeting you week one when you first arrived, so
I
it's been
know.
a heck of a 14 weeks. Chris, thank you so much for shepherding her through the process and giving her some guidance and teaching her. Not only is it individual work, but it's more importantly, it's really teamwork. And there's no I in team, as you probably know.
Yeah.
That's really what makes the world go round. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you,
And I
Chris.
did notice one line in there about mistakes, and I would tell you, my motto was always make new mistakes. Maybe that'll help you to go forward.
What, you said you're attending Smith?
Yeah, yeah.
And what are you looking for as a major?
I'm double majoring actually in economics and Africana studies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's right too. I think you told us that before. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Really, this was a delight to watch.
So college starts pretty soon. College must be around the corner again.
Yeah, I leave. This is my last week, and I leave in 2 weeks because classes start September 3rd, and I move back September 1st.
Back to Northampton, better known as NOVO. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay, we're gonna move on to COM 08242. This is an approval of the two ground lesser estoppel certificates by and through the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission and Citizens Bank, National Association Sub-lessor of WS Development. Would someone like to make that motion, please?
There's two motions,
Yeah, I only see one.
August and September.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the first motion. Would you like to make?
Want me to do it?
Yes, please.
This is a motion to approve the ground lessor estoppel certificate by and through the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission and Citizens Bank National Association, sub-lessor of WS Development under the current lease agreement that expires on August 31st, 2024. Sponsor is management, and it may be acted upon.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Jane,
Sure.
would you like to?
So just real brief, more great news for the landing at Hyannis. Citizens Bank has been working with WS Development on their ground lease. We have a template ground lease, a lesser estoppel certificate that was created back in 2018 by the Airport Commission. But as you know, in previous meetings that we've had, from time to time, they negotiate new terms that they want to see in that estoppel, and that's what happened with Citizens Bank. The airport's attorney with Anderson and Krieger have reviewed that leasing terms on our behalf and coordinated and negotiated with WS Development and Citizens Bank to get what you have here today. The reason why there's two motions, and I'll just say this once so we don't have to go after the second motion, is because there are two agreements in place for WS Development. As you may or may not remember, there's the disposition of property that was made back in their 1968 lease. So their 1968 lease is still in existence through August 31st, 2024. Citizens Bank wanted to have an estoppel for that lease, and they also want an estoppel for the new lease that takes place and starts on September 1st of 2024. So that's why you have two motions, two estoppels. That's all I have.
Okay, so the first motion of this particular item has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is a vote. Second motion, Commissioner Bailiff, would you read that first, please?
Motion to approve the ground lessor estoppel certificate by and through the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission and Citizens Bank National Association, sub-lessor of WS Development under the new lease agreement that commences on September 1st, 2024. Sponsor management may be acted upon.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made, it's been seconded. Any other further discussion, any further comment? Not hearing any, we'll take a vote on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Not hearing any, that will vote. Let's move on to COM 0824-3. This is regarding approval of a temporary license agreement by and between Cape Cod Gateway Airport and Northern Construction Service LLC, 1520 Park Street, located in Parma, Massachusetts. Vice Chair Gil, would you make that motion for us, please?
I'll read it.
Sure. Would you read that motion, please?
It's the motion to approve, the request is for a motion to approve the 6-month temporary license agreement by and between Cape Cod Gateway Airport and Northern Construction Service LLC, effective June 15th, 2024, for 13,697 square feet of land and stockpile construction material and equipment.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
I didn't move, I just read the motion. We need somebody to move the question.
Would you move that question for me? Brett?
So moved.
Okay. Motion's been made, it's been seconded. Any discussion?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Can't move and second at the same time. So if Brad is moving, you need a second.
Withdraw the second.
So we need a second now.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, now we can discuss it.
During the ongoing MassDOT Route 28 project, the construction crew began using our property to stockpile material without our permission. After bidding back and forth and reaching out to the appropriate folks, which happened to be Northern Construction Services, they agreed to lease the property for us for that stockpile. The temporary agreement will run from June 15th. That's pretty much the date that they were notified that they were illegally using the property, through December 15th. At fair market value rate of $1.49 per square foot. The total amount that we will receive from them is $10,204 for the stockpile of that material. I provided the attached lease for you to review. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This is what we spoke about before, right? And there were some, well, we looked at this before, but there were some things that needed to be corrected.
You had asked if we could go back to the June
Right,
15th
that's
date,
what it
which
was.
we did.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, the motion's been made, second. We can vote on this. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is a vote.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is COM 0824-4. This is discussion of future fuel cost center analysis workshop. Okay.
So just wanted to go over our fuel analysis that we did back in 2020, just a refresher, and then bring it forward to 2024 discussion, since we were asked to take a look at this system again and how we handle our fuel sales. So just fuel analysis, the fuel center was evaluated in 2020. The analysis was very involved, it was very complex. The commissioners voted at that time in November to maintain exclusive rights of the jet fuel business. And I just identified the commissioners that are still here that were part of that overall process. So Norm, Wendy, John, and Brad Bailey were part of that initial process. We were asked to reinvestigate the jet fuel center, see if there was anything that changed, but I wanted to go through kind of that historical fueling analysis before we do that. So the airport has exclusive rights to sell fuel. We gave up the exclusive right to sell avgas. Jet fuel is where we're spending most of our time and efforts on jet fuel. Retrofits Aviation at the time, who is no longer here, they disputed this right and they filed a lawsuit against the airport. They had racketeering charges that were brought forward against Bud Brielt, the existing airport manager at the time, Frank Sanchez, the assistant airport manager, and the commission, claiming that the commission and the airport were engaging in a pattern of illegal activity for profit. The charge was dismissed by a federal judge, and the FAA determined that the airport could maintain their exclusive right and allow the airport to continue with their self-sufficiency by continuing to sell jet fuel. Tenants then requested in 2020 that airport management review this business. Airport management conducted 8 internal meetings, so Matt and I had a lot of long workshops prior to our presentation to the commission. We refined and defined the airport's jet fuel purpose and needs statement. We defined the fuel sale business goals. We developed alternative fueling program options to take a look at with the commission. We analyzed and screened various options, i.e. do the options meet the purpose and need, and they meet our goals. We recommended the most advantageous option that met both the purpose and need and the goals, and then we designed the chosen option and implemented the plan according to the direction from the commission. We also met with fueling and fiscal experts. We met with World Fuel in September of 2020 and Mark Milne, Director of Finance for the town, in September of 2020 as well, just to make sure that the process that Matt and I went through made sense before we presented it to the commission. Commission workshop was held on November 17th, 2020. We identified 5 options for analysis. Option A, status quo, continue as we are. Option B.
Excuse me, Kitty, we can drop. What was continue as we are? What is status quo?
To continue selling our fuel in
Okay.
the manner in which we were.
Thank you.
So being the exclusive right to sell fuel, sorry.
Thank you.
Option B was to continue again to maintain our fuel business as exclusive right, increasing the markup and modifying the discount program, which we did after this meeting. Option C was, can we allow others to sell jet fuel with fuel flowage fees and maintenance fees for use of the fuel farm, with us maintaining the fuel farm, us continuing to purchase, to make orders to, and the sale of the fuel by others. So that gave all FBOs on the airfield the opportunity to do that with us maintaining it. Option D, allowing others to sell jet fuel with us leasing the fuel farm outright to others and receiving a land lease fee and a fuel flowage fee. And then option E, again, allowing others to sell Jet A fuel with Hyannis selling the fuel farm and receiving fuel flowage fee with a land lease, again, for the space. So we went through all those options. And we said, okay, what is the purpose and need? And when we go through those options, and some of you that went through that process with us will remember that we kind of had a litmus test for ourselves. So we said, here's the purpose and need. We want to guarantee the supply and continuity of high quality aviation fuel in a safe and timely manner to our customers. Purpose and need statement 2 was remaining economically viable as an enterprise fund to make sure that we have the funds that we were generating at the airport for our enterprise fund so we continue to run our business. What did economically viable mean? We had to put a number to this. Looking at our net or our revenue sales being at least 20% of our gross jet fuel sales. So when we did that in 2020, looking at those numbers, the airport's gross jet fuel revenue was $854,000, just over that, or 21.4%. And just over $3 million, 3.9 in jet fuel revenue, and 3.1 in the cost of doing that business. And I'll get through that in a moment. Then we looked at the goals for the airport fuel business. We identified optimal goals based on past discussions with the Airport Commission. The Commission came up with goals that they determined that were most appropriate. Some of that came up in the 2018 strategic plan that we put together. And then we also spoke to industry experts. So the goals were to maximize the sale of aviation fuel, cover our cost for that right to sell fuel, and grow its economic viability. We took all of the goals and we screened them. And we went through a screening protocol for each goal. We said, does the option meet the fuel business purpose and need? Does the option provide the opportunity to meet the fuel business goals? And is the option reasonable for all parties, not just the airport, for our FBOs as well? Options that did not meet the screening protocol or that were identified as being unreasonable were eliminated from further evaluation. In the end, the option recommended at the commission meeting in November was option B. It was the ability, it had the ability to meet the purpose and need, it had the ability to meet our goals. We made some tweaks to that option to be able to look at our daily fuel business and make changes, the airport management making changes on a week-by-week basis to make sure we met those purpose and needs. Option A, had the inability to meet the purpose and need and the goals. Option C was deemed unreasonable as a result of not being operational and feasible. Option D and E were also deemed unreasonable. They had the ability to meet the purposing needs and goal, but they were unreasonable from a business standpoint. And I didn't put all the detail here, we can certainly go into that later. But ultimately, option B was the option chosen. Option B, the original airport markup, option B, and we were advised to increase our mock-up at different times throughout the year based on what was happening in the region. So these dollar amounts, that's what we increased above and beyond what the price of the fuel coming in and the taxes for the fuel coming in to meet our goals. So this $2.10, $2.20, $2.40, as it went up, it was based on the airport rates and charges, which was a flat markup necessary to cover the cost of doing business. So we would look at what's the cost of doing business, how much does it cost for our employees to be present, insurance, rental of the fuel trucks, purchasing of the fuel, etc. But then we realized this year, Matt and I were talking about ways that we can further change this because we felt that we still weren't being aggressive enough within the marketplace. There was something that was missing. So today's dynamic pricing markup that started in June of this year, it's weekly market studies and analysis. We do it on Monday and Tuesday. Matt, Kim, and I meet on Mondays and Tuesday. We talk about what's happening in the marketplace. We have control of pricing. The program is beneficial for the airport's jet fuel cost center. And the markup and the changes fluctuate weekly. So as the barge rate changes, we have to change with that. As other airports in the region change their rates, we have to fluctuate with that. Versus the original, option B, where we were just doing kind of a standard markup every single time. This has allowed us to actually be more viable in the marketplace. Just to give you an example of what that looks like. The dynamic pricing markup started on 6/18 of this year, 2024. To date today, it's from 6/18 to today, our total added income when we look at our original program that we had, the original market plan, versus the dynamic plan, we have added $543,000 to our jet fuel business, just in that short time, June, July, and August.
Katie, how are pilots informed on a daily basis as to what the price will be?
So
That makes them want to come here.
Yep, when the daily price goes up, it gets posted in a lot of websites. It gets posted on our website, it gets posted on ForeFlight, gets posted on AirNav. So a lot of different avenues are post the daily jet fuel price. So people typically are flying, a lot of pilots use ForeFlight, and that price will be right there. So they can look at all the other airports and take a look at what the prices are. So going back to the 2020 analysis, the removal of the exclusive right, we discussed this in 2020 with our attorneys. They said, we're never going to get that back. If we give up this right for us to exclusively sell jet fuel, Martha's Vineyard exclusively sells jet fuel, Plymouth does, Nantucket does. If we gave that right up, we would never get it back. It would never come back to us. So it's a very, and when I say it's complex, it's a decision that we really have to sit with and think about making if we were to ever give that up.
Katie, who determines the exclusive right? Is that a court?
So yeah, basically from the court that decided that the airport could maintain their exclusive right. If we ever give that back, then we'll never get it back again. We will be selling jet fuel. We could sell jet fuel in the same manner as other FBOs sell, but we would not be making the same revenues at all.
But you could allow others to sell the fuel without giving up the exclusive right?
Nope, we've asked our attorney and they said, once you allow others to do it, it is no longer an exclusive right and you cannot hold on to it.
Okay.
Allowing others to sell jet fuel will reduce our airport revenues. You know from our finance subcommittee meetings that jet fuel and our land leases are in the top 6 revenue producers. Right now, land revenues are high. With the dynamic pricing change that we made, that could flip those two, but our land leases are our highest revenue generator. Jet fuel comes second. Other entities selling fuel may require significant increases in the fuel price, which could potentially drive away business. These are just the key things that were brought up in 2020. The loss of FBO revenue from other gross sales and other services. So for instance, an FBO is going to charge for parking fees, fueling, other types of services, catering, other types of services. We get a gross of that. So whatever Atlantic, whatever Griffin Avionics, whatever Loft is charging their customers, we get a gross of that. So that could be decreased because they might play with those numbers a little bit if they are allowed to have the jet fuel business. It's just something to think about. The airport has the opportunity to make more revenues by implementing the option B, which was decided in November. Considerations today, and this is what I've been asked to take a look at. I think it involves more of a study if we need to go into this, but we would take those same 2020 key takeaways. We don't want to discount those. Those were already determined in 2020. I have two slides. One is relinquishing, and then one is maintaining our exclusive right. So, relinquishing exclusive right. My concern is it could bring on further lawsuits from the former Retrix owner because they may have sold their business saying we can't sell jet fuel here, we're going to sell our business to Atlantic. It could bring on further lawsuits by that entity. Loss of revenue and or hit to the budget, regardless of the implementation option that's implemented, there will be some type of loss of revenue for the airport. Loss of FBO revenue from gross sales of other services, like I just explained. Concerns about loss of significant percentage of jet fuel cost center revenues allowing the FBOs to fuel. What does that mean? So we anticipate that it would be similar to how we operate today, where, for instance, Atlantic Aviation, their customers are the ones who are buying a lot of the fuel on the airport, not necessarily going to Griffin Avionics. They're either coming to us or they're going to Atlantic. Loss of budget known forecasting. We have existing contracts in place right now for discount fuel sales, so I can kind of bank on that. In my forecasting, I have a formula that I understand how much I'm probably going to get from Everest Fuel, so I kind of bank on that. That's a little bit unknown if you start transitioning over to the FBOs. Loss of control with the fuel business and an inability to price set and to set incentives. There could be a loss of assurances. Right now, for instance, if somebody wants avgas, we don't serve avgas. If they want it after hours, then they have to call Griffin Avionics. And there might be somebody that can't come in. So now here's a customer that cannot get avgas because they came in after hours and nobody's available at Griffin Avionics. So that could happen. Same thing, Atlantic also sells avgas. The airport would still need to maintain our minimum staffing levels to meet 139. And we have a 24/7 operation. We have certain requirements to uphold our certificate for 139. The jet fuel business and the fuel cost center pays the vast majority of the salaries for those people. So for things that we can't find another revenue source for them, the jet fuel business is covering that. So we have to have at least 2 people on duty to make sure that we're meeting our 139 requirements, so somebody can jump in a fire truck if they need to. It is paying for their salaries and the right for us to be a 139 airport. And we have more detail on that as well. The other concern is we could knowingly be reducing the airport's ability to meet our grant assurances, so the rights and powers. So right now, with our exclusive use and exclusive right to sell jet fuel, the FAA determined that that was appropriate for us to be able to meet our revenue that we need to meet as an enterprise fund. It could be in a situation where we're saying, let's look at this, and we want to make sure that we're in the best light for the airport. And then potential.
Wait, before you move on, Katie.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Reduces the airport's ability to meet grant assurances. Are you saying that we accepted grants based on the fact that we would maintain a certain level of revenue?
No, there's a grant assurance number 5 that basically says the rights and powers of the airport. So the airport has the right to charge X for their land leases, to charge, for different fees.
Yeah.
And so the concern here is that we know how much revenue we're generating through this existing program. If we go into a different program that reduces that, are we meeting those rights? Are we meeting those rights and powers? Are we meeting grant assurance number 5?
I don't understand.
So when the FA looks at, let's use land for an example. They look at land and they say, are you charging fair market value or are you just charging your buddy 25 cents per
Right,
square foot?
Right.
So in that sense, they're saying you must be able to meet fair market value. So that's just land. So in this sense, we're saying we're looking at possibly changing our jet fuel program. Let's make sure we're not doing it at the detriment of being able to make money for the airport and in meeting grant assurance number 5.
I get the money for the airport part. I don't get the meeting grant assurance part. How is allowing somebody else to sell jet fuel interfering with our ability to meet grant assurance?
It's not the act of allowing them that's not meeting our grant assurance. It could be the act of the fact that we are not getting the best value for that business. If we do it or an FBO does it, if an FBO does it, we could be reducing our revenues, which might not be the best value for the airport.
But that's
It's-
not, but that's
It's
not
something, it's just something to be conscious of that we should probably look into.
Yeah, the financial piece I get, but I don't see it interfering with the grant assurances. I mean, it's just,
The other piece of it was potential operational increase was brought to our attention. It may be slight, but there are drawbacks that we've noted here that just need to be noted. In speaking to Everest, NetJets, and World Fuel, you know, they're a lot of the operations that occur on the airport. In speaking to them back in 2020, and again, fast forward to now, they've told us that Hyannis is the destination and departure point. We might receive some flights that are coming in from Nantucket and the Vineyard. They're both fees for jet fuel are much higher than ours. But aircraft with passengers are going and coming to the Cape. They're coming to Hyannis. Hyannis sits really at a geographical edge of the service area, so it's not like we're in the middle of the country where there's more options for a plane to land and to decide which airport I'm going to go to. So just from speaking to them, we had asked the question, could operations potentially increase? And they may, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't say yes or no, but I think what we have to be conscious of is that relinquishing of exclusive rights, there's a lot more that we have to contend with. Looking at considerations, continuing, still taking into the key takeaways from 2020, what does it mean to maintain our exclusive right? So we maintain leverage and ability to increase our revenues by modifying using that dynamic tool. Obviously, that was an example. Past 3 months, $500,000 that we were able to make above and beyond for jet fuel sales, which is fantastic. Maintaining the ability to price set and develop any incentives that we have, so like the discount fuel incentives that we have. We can also have incentives. Notoriously, Nantucket and the Vineyard are more expensive. It's obvious, they're an island. So there are fees that they have to incorporate. So there are still things that we can do, incentives and price setting, that will still work in our favor when we're talking about our competitors. Ability to leverage that dynamic pricing, so it paid significant dividends as we showed you before. Right now, the jet fuel net revenue for 2024, that's after we take out our cost of business, is $1.9 million for 2024 fiscal year. And with the new dynamic pricing, we think we'll see some changes also significantly in fiscal year 2025. So really, the question is, because we were asked to look at this, I wanted you to have the background, but the question is, does the commission want to delve into this further? We did an extensive study in 2020. We went through all the options with the commission. Is there something that has changed that has changed with those other options that we think that we should look into? It's just, I'll say it again, once we give up that exclusive right, we're never getting it back. So it's a big decision.
Katie, could you just confirm the issue of, for the sake of the commission, the issue of grant assurances, that if we did do some changes, there seems to be a question.
Yeah.
How that would impact future sale of jet fuel. And if any other questions from
Mr.
anyone?
Chairman, if I may, the giving up of the exclusive right to sell fuel doesn't prevent us from selling fuel also, right? So if we allowed FBOs to sell jet fuel, we could still sell jet fuel as well, correct?
Yeah. It does, but what it does is it still requires us, let me see if I put it in here, it still requires us to still have the facilities that we have to pay for. So we would still have to pay for our salaries for our people, send them to fueling school and make sure they're trained, pay insurance, pay for the trucks, pay for the fuel farm. So there's still a dollar amount there that's, we'd have to pay for.
Right, but it would create a competitive market at the airport for fuel pricing. I mean, if we're selling fuel cheaper than they are, right?
It definitely could, but I guess, you know, that's something that we have to walk through. I think we'd have to look at those options. I'd just be nervous about that exclusive right. And the other piece of it, let's not forget, I'd be concerned about the retaliation or another lawsuit coming from Retrix Aviation, and he's very litigious. I have files upon files from Bud giving me those files from Retrix Aviation, and it was like every single month he was suing the airport for something. So I'd be very concerned about that. You know, I have no idea what the reasons behind him selling his business were, but, you know, who knows what he could come up with.
So Katie, for the sake of argument,
Yeah.
I mean, right now we have a monopoly on jet fuel sales here at Gateway Airport.
Just like Nantucket, just like the
Yeah, we
Vineyard,
sell.
just like,
So the question is, why do we want to give that up? That's really the question.
right.
No?
Yeah, that's one question. Another thing is, and I've talked about this over my tenure here. We have three businesses. We have a real estate business, we have an airport business, we have a fuel business. And when I got involved in the commission and the finance subcommittee, I was really concerned about the fuel business and the way things were being reported. And I think Katie would say that I was pretty annoying as far as
In a good way.
in a good way, about encouraging us to look at how we regularly looked at the business. And that developed into at least, if by my mind is correct, a quarterly review of the fuel operation in great detail. And it's given us a better picture, giving her the ability to come up with the numbers that she comes up with the term cost center for fuel didn't exist when I first came here. So the allocation of people who wear two hats in here, people who are, may play a firefighting role who also may be in the fueling business. And that person is still going to be here to be a firefighter. But we get a much better picture of what the fuel business means to this airport. And it's a very, very valuable contributor to the funds that are generated in this. So unless there was something that changed in the financial underpinnings of that business, I would be very concerned about changing it. And like you said, Mr. Chairman, the word exclusive has a special meaning, and giving that up is something I think we really need to think about very, very, very carefully. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I'm not, when you hear me asking these questions, and I've asked, Katie to dig into this, and by the way, Katie, thank you so much for calling all that up and sharing that with us. I don't have a particular interest in who sells fuel, right? If we keep the exclusive right, we sell fuel, that's great. My only interest is to make sure that we are not impacting the number of operations this airport experiences because of how fuel is transacted here. And I've heard from people, and I'm sure everybody has their agenda, and I've heard from people saying that it has been a deterrent for bringing more aircraft in here for a variety of reasons. And I would just like for us to get both sides of the story. So I would ask if it would be possible at a future meeting to invite FBOs and pilots to attend and present their concerns. And then we have both sides of the story. And it's my belief that we could maintain, if service issues are part of the impact to operations, I believe that there are ways for us to maintain this exclusive right and address the service issues. But I want to hear what those concerns are. So now we have, we have the airport's position on why we're doing what we're doing. I'd like to hear from our customers what the impact is. Is that reasonable?
Well, I would only suggest that as opposed to having it at a public meeting as we have here, a regular commission meeting, that we form maybe a subcommittee to take a look at that and just have a special subcommittee meeting that we could spend a lot of time on delving into those questions, as opposed to monopolizing a meeting like this.
Is that something you think would be appropriate for the strategic plan, since we will be covering other elements? I'm not sure, Mark.
It could be. I think that it would be more appropriate within the strategic plan to establish a goal to address service issues.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what the phrasing would be. We'll wait until we get into that goal development part to find out how the participants want to structure it. But that would be, then that would lead to several actions that would allow us to address things. I mean, I could even see if we start tracking time, from the time that somebody requests fuel to the time that the fueling is complete, right? If we start tracking that, what's the wait time for a customer? And that could lead us to start taking a look at, okay, do we need to hire more people, or use some of this money to bring on more staff, or do better predictions of surge periods where we typically would experience more aircraft than not. We don't greatly appreciate the revenue that having that exclusive right brings into the airport, and I certainly wouldn't want to impact the airport financially. But I also want to make sure that we're not having an unintended consequence of reducing the number of operations that this airport experiences because of that. And I've voiced it many times, I'm very concerned about the decline in the number of operations at this airport over the past 10 years.
Well, I think it's a concern of all of us from that perspective, but I think what's important is as we move this question forward, that somehow we put together a meeting that allows other folks who have an opinion to come in. I don't really see it as part of the strategic plan, to be quite frank.
So a workshop
I think we get lost in the weeds. This is such a particular issue.
Okay.
That I would look rather isolated and plan a meeting that would be open to the public and post it, and we can have it here, have it at town hall, have it one of the.
I mean, I would be more inclined if it wasn't just service issues related to fuel, but service issues that they encounter at the airport.
Sure.
Sure, we can expand on that.
But it may be, to Katie's point, it may be better to go through the strategic planning process to identify a high-level general goal, and then how we address it.
We could do it that way.
Right. Right, so we would wait until after we complete the strategic plan before we do anything further with this. That would be the idea.
That would be an offshoot of the strategic plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we can actually put specific objectives around it with indicators of success and timelines, and really get a comprehensive report on it. So let's look at it from that perspective.
Okay.
I just don't want to get bogged down in a meeting like this in the nitty-gritty, because this is it's a complex kind of issue. Looking at the legal ramifications based on exclusivity, including what some of our partners at the airport want to be able to compete with us against.
Right.
There's a lot of moving parts.
We'll make sure that the FBOs are, at least somebody's present for the strategic plan.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You are. Okay, let's move on to item COM 0824-5. This is approval of the lease subordination, non-disturbance, recognition, and attornment agreement by and through the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission and Warby Parker Retail Inc., the sublessor of WS Development. Would somebody like to make this motion, please?
I will. A motion to approve the lease, subordination, non-disturbance, recognition, and attornment agreement by and through the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission and Warby Parker Retail Inc., sublessor of WS Development. The sponsor is management and may be acted upon at this meeting.
Okay, do we have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made. There's a second. Is there any discussion?
Sure. Warby Parker Retail has reached out to WS Development and they're finalizing their lease with them, which is great news for us. They negotiated again some terms that differed from the original recognition agreement that was originally approved by the Commission in 2018. This is the same information, by the way, that I'm providing for the next agenda item, so I can be briefer on that one. The subordination, non-disturbance, and Attornment agreement is basically a leasing agreement between the airport as the owner and Warby, who is the sub-lessor of WS Development, to ensure that if for some reason something were to happen with WS Development, they end up defaulting on their mortgage or their lease with the airport, that we as the airport entity will recognize their existing lease that they're signing with WS Development. That's the purpose of this. The airport attorneys from Anderson and Krieger have worked through the language and came to an agreement on the airport's behalf that's consistent and with the 2018 Commission approval of the recognition agreement. They only made some minor changes to this particular document. That's all I have unless you have questions.
Warby Parker Retail, that's an eyeglass company, isn't it?
I think so, yep.
Yeah, I don't see it.
That was good.
Okay, any other questions or discussion from any of my fellow commissioners? Not hearing any, we can vote on this particular item, COM 08245. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is a vote. Okay, this is COM 0824-6. It's approval of the lease subordination, non-disturbance, recognition, and attornment agreement by and through the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission and Nordstrom, Inc., sub-lessor of WS Development. I'd ask someone to make this motion, please.
I will. Motion to approve the lease subordination, non-disturbance, recognition, and attornment agreement by and through the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission and Nordstrom, Inc., sub-lessor of WS Development.
And is there a second, please?
Second.
Okay. Sponsor is management may be acted upon. Katie, could you tell us any additional information besides that Nordstrom is a retailer and it's Nordstrom Rack?
It's Nordstrom Rack.
Okay.
That's it.
Anyone have any questions, issues, or concerns that might want to ask? Okay, not hearing any, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor of COM 0824-6 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is a vote.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda, item number 10, report of special committees. Do we have a noise report for July, October, January, and April?
No, she just comes on those months.
Okay.
So she'll be here in October, and we are working, just so you know, we've had some feedback from Wendy and from some others in the community about making some modifications to our noise website to make it more user-friendly. We're in the process of doing that, so we will reveal that before it goes live.
So we'll have a report in October?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, moving right along then, Chris Greeley, our Yarmouth representative. Any comments, Chris?
No, the other thing, I had called Christine, and Christina had talked with her a little bit, because of the 6 a.m. To 7 a.m. flights, some of which were coming over the neighborhood. There's a question of why, and I understand that you really can't dictate where people fly or how, things like that, but wondering if there could be a strengthening of some recommendations that those kinds of flights take off over downtown Hyannis. I mean, which are not going to disturb small residential properties, and particularly in the summer months with their windows open and all. Because there's a particular one that's been leaving at 6:10 in the morning that, seems to be pretty consistent, things like that. And so that was one of the things that sort of
6:10, is that Cape Air to Nantucket?
6 o'clock, it may be.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask Christina what time.
And so, because I don't think that the angling, to tell you the truth, to take off, slightly over there rather than slightly over the bay, is that big an issue. But a lot of people have been very concerned. There was another one, I think, 6:24. I mean, there's a couple of them that are very disturbing. I mean, it's one thing by the time you get to 7 a.m., but people were really sort of questioning the 6 a.m. And as I said, I do know, as I said, that once the wheels are off the tarmac, you don't have much say. But the whole idea of, really reinforcing with the pilots that some of these things are disturbing that early. Thank you.
Well, we do have limited control over that, but Katie,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're hearing that message from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
folks in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
if we can look into that.
I'll
Yeah.
talk to Christina and see
Yeah.
about those times, because you already
Yeah.
spoke to her, correct?
Yeah, I
Okay.
spoke to her already, and I understand, I mean, I've jokingly said, you know, I wish the FAA ran the state police, because, I mean, I could drive at 85 miles an hour westbound on the eastbound lanes of 6A and say I felt safer there. But, you know, I understand that there's a lot of stuff that isn't under your control, but the whole idea of just reinforcing, you know, some of the ideas of the noise mitigation possibilities that pilots could voluntarily do that be of help to the community. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chris.
Chris. Thanks.
Okay, management updates.
I'll be quick.
That's good.
Just wanted to let you know that Hyannis Hangar LLC is going up for sale. If you remember correctly, Hyannis Hangar LLC, we just signed an
Which one
agreement
is
with
that?
them last year. Let me show you. Chris, would you be able to show, actually, yeah, point down there, I was gonna get fancy. That's Hyannis Hangar LLC.
Okay.
It's a nested T hangar. They've owned it for 20 years, now I'm going on 2021.
What's in there now?
Sorry?
Is any, are there any, what's in
Yeah,
there?
there's, they have a whole contingent of lessors that lease property from that, I know
Oh,
that.
individual.
Yes,
Apartment,
individual,
okay.
yep. So that's up for sale. There are some members on the airfield that are interested, some existing tenants that are interested in possibly buying that structure, so they just wanted to let us know that it is up for sale. So
Okay.
FYI, if you know of anyone, let us know. Strategic planning meetings are coming together. Our first meeting is August 26th. We'll be holding that meeting in Gate 1 area. Mark will be presenting. We have 27 attendees as of yesterday
Great.
that have signed up for the plan,
That's great.
which is
That's
wonderful.
excellent.
Can I raise a question?
Sure.
I've heard from a couple of people that the first meeting in particular, they've got a major conflict, and they're going to be able to do the others. Is there any chance that there can be, because they really sound very committed to wanting to do this, that could be videoed or something, and that people who really want to sign up and have a conflict, and I'm even thinking somebody could be ill during the second one and not able to make it, but that these meetings could be for someone who wanted to catch up on something they missed, or a meeting that they had an unfortunate consequence that they couldn't meet, even though they made a commitment to want to do all four. Would that be a possibility that would allow some people who really probably should be there doing it?
Yeah, so we didn't change any of the dates, we just
No.
eliminated the first date.
Right.
And I have no problem with it being videotaped, but if they're not there at the first meeting, they would act as an observer at the subsequent meetings, they wouldn't be participating.
Okay, thank you.
So Mark, do you want me to make arrangements for it to be videotaped so we can put it on our website?
It's totally up to you. I
I can talk to
Sure.
downtown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Airport environmental assessment and master plan update. We have 2 meetings that are offered to the public on August 27th. The first meeting is at 2 o'clock. It is a virtual meeting to give people the opportunity that cannot make the in-person meeting to attend the virtual meeting. The link, the Zoom link, is on our website already. That's been posted. 6 p.m. is the in-person meeting that will be held at Town Hall Hearing Room. Again, August 27th, 2 o'clock for virtual, 6 o'clock for the in-person. PFAS in our public involvement plan, the airport is at phase 5. We're nearing the end of our response to PFAS cleanup. We have had meetings with Barnstable Fire Training Academy. We've been to 2 meetings already with them for coordinating efforts. Barnstable Fire Training Academy needs to use some of our data that we've already collected for our analysis, so we've provided them with that data, so they have that now, so they can use it for their analysis. Again, we're at phase 5, they're at phase 2, so our laboratory results are more advanced for them to be able to use. They'll be using that. I made the suggestion that we have committed for a November meeting every November after we've completed our status updates. We have 2 status updates every year, one in the spring, one in the fall. The fall one is in October. And it's a status update to Mass DEP to say, we've done additional monitoring, we did additional sampling, this is the results that we're seeing. The meetings in November would be to highlight to the public where we are, what the results are of our mitigation caps, how things are moving along. I've asked Barnstable Fire Training Academy to join us so that there's one public meeting to talk about PFAS where they can speak and the airport can speak about our separate analyses that are being done. So that date has not been determined yet, but it will be in November. And then upcoming events, we have CCYP that will be here for their annual bash, September 18th. So if you haven't purchased your tickets yet, please purchase your tickets through CCYP. Full-scale emergency exercise is on September 26th. Matt and company have been working very diligently on that. And then October 24th, 2024 is our 4th annual Southeastern Massachusetts Aviation Career Fair. I have 20 exhibitors signed up and 3 schools signed up. We will be including more schools this year. We kind of branched out to more of Southeastern Massachusetts, so more students have the ability to come and learn from our exhibitors. We're hopeful that we'll get 20 more exhibitors. I just have to keep bugging them. So right now we have 20 that have signed up.
Great.
That's all I have for updates.
Okay, any other comments from any of our commissioners?
I have a couple questions. The CCYP last year, we got in for free, do we have to buy them?
So I do get a number of tickets for commissioners and for the airport. Let me talk to her to see how many we got. Because we provide this facility to them at really no charge. They pay for extra custodians and stuff like that, but yeah, let me see what we can get.
And the other thing is at the last meeting, I think you said that you were having maybe a Zoom or a meeting with on the disadvantaged business enterprises.
We did have that meeting already, and the email that you sent me with the additional people to reach out to, Caroline from Airport Solutions Group has already reached out to them to let them know that that's available.
Okay, but we've already had the meeting, is that?
We already had the meeting. We had the meeting last month with a number of different representatives from the state, from the diversity offices in MassDOT and the FAA and Mass.Aeronautics. We've already met with them, so.
Can I ask a question about the full-scale emergency exercise? Like from what hours to what hours, what kinds of things will the public expect to see going on here?
Sure.
Getting out publicly for people know it's not a crisis, but it's an exercise.
So you'll see message boards on the sides of 28 and Yarmouth Road and a couple of strategic spots to let people know what's going on. The drill itself runs from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., but an hour on either side of that, there'll be a lot of emergency vehicles arriving. They'll arrive just driving on the road. During the event between 5 and 8 p.m., there'll be a lot of vehicles on the airport with red, blue lights. There's a large, contained in a safe way with a lot of controllers, fire that we're using for this. There'll be a couple of aircraft that are staged to use. There will be a couple of ambulances that transport actors down to Cape Cod Hospital. They'll be just driving on the road as they go for that. They won't be going as if it's an emergency. So from the outside, looking at the airport will still be open. Runway 1533, which parallels this building, will be open. Runway 624 and kind of the east ramp side of the airport will be closed, so everyone will be going in on Marydome Way. So the signs will go out there. We do have some press releases that'll be going out to let people know what's going on. You may be able to drive by and not even realize something's going on.
You can hope. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Matt, this is similar to what we did a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Same project.
Yep.
So will Coast Guard be involved like they were a couple of years ago? They will
They're
be.
planning to be here, yes.
Okay. I would encourage any commissioner that has not participated in that to do so, because it's really intriguing to see how all of the support services come together. God forbid there was that type of an emergency.
Mr. Chairman, a quick question. Cape Cod Hospital, are they doing a contingency exercise in concert with this so that they can practice?
They are.
Okay,
That's
great.
one that's, it's difficult, because they have a very big responsibility to the
Sure.
community. But, so their level of participation changes. For this year, they have actually requested that we transport 10 actor victims who will be moulaged up in ambulances down there to be processed in through intake, emergency room, and
Awesome.
OR.
Great.
All the way through with patient tracking, and family reunification.
Great.
That will all be staged out. So they'll actually be The majority of the events happen here at the airport. There'll be some at the hospital where those folks get transported down. There's also a piece of this that happens at the Barnstable Adult Community Center, where the Red Cross, the airlines, fire department, police, and we have representatives there, stand up a family assistance center that runs on a separate timeline, because that would simulate something that happens like a day or two later. But all of those things happen in a very coordinated effort. So.
Well, and what about press relations? Do you practice that also as part of the exercise?
We do. So the command function, I don't want to give Katie all the injects, but the command function, it happens, we're compressed to 3 hours to do this. Obviously, something of this scale would go out over days.
Yeah.
And so there's an organic start where there'll be a command function that would be Katie, as well as the officer, usually the deputy chief or chief of Hyannis Fire, that would start. A command is stood up through a schedule of events listing, and then through that, there are different injects that they'll have.
Sure.
Some of those include questions that are coming from the media.
Sure.
We usually will have them generate a press release to kind of go over the piece, utilizing all the pieces of command relating to the airlines, the Red Cross, the first responders, and then there'll be a mock press conference that would occur.
Great.
Yeah, because I think it's important to get the message out ahead of time, particularly if that's many blue lights and things going on and something hasn't happened, so. Because particularly since it's a full-scale one, yeah.
We'll have press releases, we'll have a public service announcement, we will have announcements on our social media account. And then we're lining up interviews just with local radio so that the message gets out there. So I think we're going to be talking to Ed Lambert and Pat Desmarais.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 11, any announcements, commissioners' comments, any issues?
I have a question, if you don't mind. I don't think I'm understanding correctly, and I try to ask this about Paris Cote at the end, but I didn't speak up soon enough. If I'm understanding correctly, in the package we got today, they gave us revised invoices, correct?
Yes.
That broke everything down. To me, it was very obvious what was normal and what was not normal in the revised invoices. So my question is, for Commissioner Gio, exactly what you're looking just for a reformatting of that or a classification? And this is normal and this is not normal, or?
No, okay, so quarterly newsletter, copying design, 3 hours. That's not detailed information.
It's not at all.
These invoices were provided before. There's nothing new here.
This one is the new one.
That's the new one.
Yeah, right.
And that's the breakdown that I'm looking for.
What he's looking for the previous 12
For the
months.
previous year, so that we can understand how these hours went so crazy.
It's still not even detailed enough.
I would agree, but it's a heck of a lot better than this.
Oh, I agree with
Yeah.
that, but that's not detailed
I think
enough.
the question comes down to why was their budget so underestimated to begin with?
Yeah,
Why did it go over and then have to come back to us? And I mean, we really had to get into the weeds with them debating as to how we would move forward with strategic planning and other kinds of issues.
It's a
So we need more detail.
mismanagement. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, it's a mismanagement of the contract, and I'm trying to understand how it got mismanaged and what were the, because, to ask for a 50% increase, and again, it came on the heels of a similar request for an increase to include strategic planning, and we said no. So now it's like they come up with another reason why they need the additional money. That may not be the case, but that's the appearance it has. And so, yeah, I want to really understand it before.
Yeah, and I think they got that you were asking for the overage and what that included, so I'll have them go back and do something similar like this for the previous 12 months. And we were hopeful that even with the presentation that they were given, it was going to provide you with some of that feedback of what has been done in the previous 12 months. But I know you're asking for it.
It's better than what has been, but not as good as what we want.
Right, so I know what you're asking for. I want to double check with them, and before I even send them direction on that, I'm going to send all of the commissioners an email and say, are we clear on what we want?
Yes, there's a third ask now
Yeah.
for the same thing. All right, thank you.
Okay.
If I could just make a comment. I appreciate everybody's interest and need to know, and I don't want to question who gets what information, but I get really uncomfortable going down a slippery slope of reviewing invoices in detail at the commission level. We have a procurement process, we have a approval process for invoices, and I don't view my role in the finance subcommittee as one of approving invoices. I have a much higher view of what our role ought to be. So I want everybody to get the information that they need, and I know it's a slippery slope, but I caution us that commissions that end up by reviewing invoices end up by not doing the job that they should be doing for oversight.
I would only comment that we do have a very solid finance subcommittee, one which I sat on for a number of years. Vice Chairman Gio is now taking my place on that particular subcommittee. And I think that as we move forward, I've always been under the impression that if the finance subcommittee is moving something to the full commission, then due diligence has been done, review has been done. So I would hope that at that level, the real nitty-gritty kinds of questions to drill down to whatever those issues might be would occur, so that when something does come, obviously commissioners will have questions, and I hope that they ask. But as far as the devil is in the details, so to speak, let's do that at our subcommittee meeting so that everything is as transparent as possible when it comes to us as the full commission.
And Mr. Chairman, I agree with Norm that we shouldn't be in the business of approving invoices. That's not what we do. However, when there is apparent mismanagement and then the consequence of that is to ask for a 50% increase, yeah, I want to get into it and take a look at it.
Good point.
If they came back and said, we want to renew for another 60,000, I wouldn't even be talking about it right now.
And I agree with Norm too, and we shouldn't be doing that as the finance committee, but management should be getting enough information so that an intelligent decision is made, so we don't have to do that.
Exactly.
But when it's wrong,
That's right.
we need to see it.
Yeah, we need to ask those questions to make sure that we are protecting the integrity of the commission, the town, as well as the overall monetary management of the commission. So with that being said, before we adjourn, I just wanted to have one more chairperson's comment. I want to thank, first welcome and say thank you to Town Councilor Betty Lucky for coming to the meeting today. She is the liaison from the Town Council Precinct 3, who she represents, but she represents the full council to us as the liaison. So thank you for coming, and hope to see you at more of the meetings in the future. Okay, with that being said, I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody.